call to order. Call to order the meeting and roll call.
Rebecca Beasley
Here.
is here, Rita's here, I'm here, Joy's here,
Here.
Todd, are you here?
Here.
Okay. And then Kevin, I think said he was gonna probably not make it.
Come in late if he was gonna make it. Okay, we'll stand up and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'm looking to have you guys review the meeting minutes from February 9th meeting.
Yes.
And if you want to review those, or if you have any questions, let me know, or let me know when there's a motion.
Motion.
I read these, I can't find them me. So.
Todd makes a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Oh, I just stuck down.
Todd made the motion to approve. Rebecca seconded. All those in favor say yes.
Yes. Yes.
All opposed? Motion passes. Minutes have been accepted. Okay, is there a legislative update? Anybody want to share? They're still in session, so still in session, so we'll see what they come up with. The funds update for the TIF of the 4445. They are also attached. Were there any questions? If there's no questions, we'll go to the CD, the certificate of deposit that we have with FCN. We need to determine the next steps of the CD. The CD is at 300,000. It has accumulated, I want to believe, to 384,000. So the determination would be, do we want to keep it at FCN in that CD for a year, or go into Indiana Trust with the state of Indiana, and where the FCN is a yearly interest, the Indiana Trust is a daily. You can take it out when you want. It's in and out. It's made for government like ours. Let's see, what else do I know about this? Adam Stone is the financial advisor for the town of Brookville, and he also suggests make a suggestion to have an option for the growth for the Indiana Trust. Does anyone would like to have a discussion about one way or the other?
Did he come here and talk to us about that one a few weeks ago? Did he, or was I somewhere else? He came to.
He did.
It was here. Yeah, I thought so. And personally, I don't know anything about Indiana Trust. I've never heard of them before. He brought them up. So I would really like to do a little more discussion, a little more research on them as a financial organization. And you guys probably know a lot about them. I just don't feel comfortable just moving it from Franklin County. So it's no big, passionate love between me and Franklin County, but that's just how I feel about it.
So
Throughout the town uses them, correct?
We plan on gradually, it was suggested by our financial advisor. It's my understanding from Mr. Stone that the more you put in, the interest is with all that goes up to that there, and when it comes back, that's to be separated with each body. So it's kind of interest overall rather than just one amount. If that makes sense.
So when you said we're planning to move away.
The town, yeah, as our CD mature, we may consider moving them in to trust and do. It was, Adam Stone talked to us about that. We hired him last year to be our financial advisor and help us with the budget, and I talked to him a couple different times about that, but he said he had for it. So,
And
Have more control over it,
yeah, that's what he has said.
CDs are locked in for a year, you know.
If you take out your pin lots, this way you're not.
I will say Stan has been doing the work on us if there was an emergency. I think
Yeah, when you'd have to
so
take the
years
money out
ago,
right
we
away.
had a situation,
Hmm.
but this option would just make it more fluid.
And it's designed for government. And review.
I'm gonna make a
Very
motion.
little-
Do what?
Very little things.
And the reason why we need to make the motion this time is because the money is, it's 1 year, so we need to make that,
Gotta do now.
yes, we need to make that decision.
So I guess ultimately, if you did not want to make that decision, just transfer it to the operating, and then once you do make the decision, then you can decide.
That's another option.
But, yeah, I like that. I mean, Elizabeth is fine.
You do currently have one CD that just renewed. I think you guys didn't meet the end of December,
That's correct.
so I just automatically kept it at that estimate, so you do have one CD yet.
So
So-
Taking everything away from people?
No, no,
confused
just
on
the CD,
Just the CD.
just the CD.
ledger,
Everything else that we do would be at Franklin County National. Bank.
Yes, yes, and we do still have one CD there, so we could take this one and try it, we could, and see what you're doing.
Did I not include the last one?
I'm not sure.
There's more on the side page.
Oh, yeah, this is just off. That doesn't have anything with this.
So this is.
No, that's what you expected, $30. This is the distribution Main Street.
Should I have on those
And this
amounts
is
that you
the
saw? I
operating.
don't know if we want
No.
that, but you should not.
You don't have to, we'll put we'll put that page that you put in there on that. Okay.
Should have put it with the.
So what is it, Todd? What do you got?
What's attached is our operating balance, and that's not the CD.
Oh, that's not the CD on there.
Well,
okay.
the fund detail, that I printed for TIF.
Yes,
Operating without the investments included.
got it. Yes,
Add
yes.
500,000 to that. I can print and that's what that's unclear.
Okay, so we have an operating cash balance. that
Of
is from-
384.
Of
The other's
384.
still in SC. There's two of them.
But the page that, 300,000 is the CD that we're discussing.
That we're discussing.
That's the-
And then-
Hold back in.
Got it, got it. It does now, yeah. Mhm. So we're still talking about the 300,000.
Now, you mentioned the operation fee or funds of 500.
The,
Um,
Todd was bringing up that on your different page there, that's what we have currently for operating funds right now.
I'm not even.
Okay,
Yes,
The 384,000.
the 384, where I misspoke, I said 300, we made 84,000 off that.
And then the page after that is the CD that's coming
Okay.
due on the 27th of this month.
okay.
And there's the other CD that's for 200 plus interest that's not listed here.
Okay.
It renews-
So it's 4,100. And what Gina is saying, that if I'm getting this right, so we take the 3,000 and it's gonna go with the other money that the town of Brookville has put into Indiana Trust. Is that correct? And then you divide it. Yes, yes. So you've got a higher rate, higher amount that's in there that you're accumulating instead of just the 300,000. I'm sorry, sorry, not just, but I mean, that's a big number away from there too.
Because the amount is higher, it's gonna increase of what it can make.
Can bring
grow
in.
And bring in, okay.
Yes.
I did have a request from someone that's listening, asked that they speak in the microphones, because they're hard to hear. There were
Okay.
ones- So some.
Oh, your microphone isn't by you, Victoria.
Just all those important words.
And I walked away from my microphone
Oh.
too. Yeah.
On purpose.
Okay, so
And this is one of the things that Kevin Kaiser did bring up that he wanted to discuss too. Should we wait till the end of the meeting, see if he shows up, or just go ahead and make a motion? Does anybody want to make a motion?
I prefer to wait. You're wanting to make a motion so bad.
I would recommend not waiting a month to do this.
I
because
would
whatever
agree.
interest that we would gain by going to a higher rate, we'll lose by having it in
Yes.
our operating account rather than interest bearing.
I agree.
Is there a difference in Franklin County's interest rate, the
Sorry,
way they do it compared to this one? Do they pay more interest rate? So it's just a flat rate then all year long, whereas the other bank will fluctuate as the economy fluctuates.
You can get like.
He's at the school board meeting.
Go by a certain
I
date,
think we're fine.
she would have gained.
He's at the school board meeting.
They have a whole website.
This says
Yeah,
four
make a
point
vote.
one
I think we should
1%,
make a vote.
4.11 is what this earned this past year, okay? Because the Indiana trust thing will vary daily.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
I motion that we move those.
Ah,
Is that,
Becky, motion to move.
how
to-
do you feel?
We have a motion to move the 300,000 to the Indiana Trust. Do we have a second?
I second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Victoria, motion passes to move to Indiana Trust. Okay. We are, I'm going to introduce Nick Lawrence with the Wheatley Group, and he will be going over our annual presentation. We didn't get to it in 2025, so he'll be working with that today. And you were giving or you're going to be given a handout. So thank you for coming down, Nick, and looking forward.
Good evening. I'm Nick Lawrence with the Wheatley Group. There's some faces here that I do know. There's some other faces I don't know. So I'll go ahead and give a quick background as to who I am, what my company does, and why I'm here. The Wheatley Group, we've been working with Franklin County and Brookville in some capacity since 2016. So we've seen a little bit happen along Main Street and developments in the area. My firm is one that assists as a consultant and advising on economic development and redevelopment for both the public and private sectors. We're located in New Albany, Indiana, so hop, skip, and a jump down 65 that way. So about 2 hours and 15 minutes away as the crow flies. So our role has varied since 2016. When we first got started, our job really was to assist Todd, put some wheels on the Redevelopment Commission, assist directly with the Franklin County Economic Development Commission as the local economic development organization for the county, and work with those folks and remake what we would call a LEDO, or a local economic development organization, remake that and just get some activity moving from an economic development and redevelopment perspective. So projects that we worked on and have been involved in would be working with the Shermer Center and the rerouting of some of the roadways, I think Murphy Street down through there. We worked on the Valley House Flats project. We worked on the cobblestone hotel project. We've helped in the establishment of some of the TIF districts in the area within the county, both from the Brookville Redevelopment Commission as well as the county level. We worked on the build, operate, transfer for the pool project. And so we've been just a consulting advisor along the way on a variety of projects that have touched this redevelopment commission as well as the county at large. Again, our role has diminished a little bit as we've had some staff come on board to assist Franklin County more directly. And so we've been operating in an on-call capacity for the redevelopment commission here, as well as Franklin County's Economic Development Commission and the redevelopment commission at the county level. So just for myself personally, my background from economic development and redevelopment has been my career. I started out working for the local economic development organization known as One Southern Indiana that represents Clark and Floyd County. And so I worked there. There's a big industrial park down that way called River Ridge Commerce Center near Louisville, Kentucky, and I got to work on a lot of projects there. And then moved on to the town of Clarksville, where I acted as redevelopment director at the town of Clarksville and worked on a lot of riverfront redevelopment there and setting the stage for a lot of things that are under construction and being completed there today. And then moved to the private sector in 2016. Actually, this was one of the first contracts that I managed for our company, was working with Franklin County. At that time, I think I was coming up here 2 to 3 days a week and holding office hours and meeting with folks and trying to understand the community, what the goals were, and keep some things moving. So that's kind of a little bit about me. And my history here with Franklin County. I still do some odds and ends and on-call type things. I'm glad to hear Adam Stone's the financial advisor. I've worked with Adam quite a bit over the past several years. He's a good guy. And so that's just sort of the space we deal in. We're not financial advisors. We're not attorneys. We're not engineers. We're practitioners at the end of the day. And so we've had hands-on experience with the types of projects that come before redevelopment commissions on a pretty regular basis.
So what did you say that, how you would describe yourselves? You're not as financial.
Yeah, we are practical. Again, we're practitioners of it. We used to do redevelopment. We still do redevelopment. We help more on a project level now, more so than kind of a advisory level or directly for anybody. So that's what we do. Right now, our client mix is probably about 50-50. 50% of our clients are public side units of government, redevelopment commissions, local economic development organizations. The other 50% are private companies, development companies, real estate companies that employ us to help them get projects across the finish line. So we speak tax credits, we speak TIF, we speak economic development, we speak that language pretty fluently. And that's the role we play. So what am I doing here tonight? I think that's what everybody wants to know, right? Thanks for the preamble. Why are you here? So as part of the as a redevelopment commission, and I know some of your folks are relatively new to redevelopment commissions. So I'm going to kind of start high level, and I will say this is a presentation that's meant for overlapping taxing units, but I find that this works really well just in explaining what a redevelopment commission does and particularly reminding new members kind of what the charge is here. So I'll start super high level with stuff that's not necessarily in this report, and then I'll get into the report. We'll move through it pretty quickly and then kind of ask some questions if you have any. So just to start, a redevelopment commission has several different public reporting requirements that exist throughout the year that have evolved, particularly over the past 15 years. One of those items is what's called an annual report. So this annual report is something that Gina does, and she typically does with the financial advisor. And I think every now and then I may help a little bit on it, but that annual report is due every April. It must be uploaded to the Indiana Gateway portal, transparency portal. And that involves information related to the previous year's finances. It's parcel level detail information on TIF and assessed values and increment. It's information about this board and its expenditures. So that's what has to be done and uploaded every April. And at some point throughout the year, you have to do an annual presentation. The annual presentation can be done at your public meeting. There's no notice requirement for it. It needs to be done. It's a statutory step that needs to be done. There's one other statutory step, not in this report, that is required, and that's that you have to make a determination by mid-June of every year whether or not you're going to pass any assessed value through to the overlapping taxing units. And then you send that out to those units as to whether or not you're going to pass any assessed value through. I can get into terminology. I'm going to use words like assessed value and increment and those sort of things because they're kind of the important terms and definitions that you deal in from a redevelopment perspective. So if that's not making sense, let me know and I'll get more layman's terms with it. But we'll talk through some of that too, kind of the basic building blocks is within this report. So as you know, like I've stated, there's three different kind of these public reporting requirements, three different actions that kind of occur this April annual report, the determination of excess assessed value, and this annual presentation. And so we've done this. The requirement came in about 2019. So it got a little off kilter timing wise with COVID. So we've done it typically towards the end of the year. But as long as you do it, you meet your general requirement with the statute. So that's what we're here tonight to do with this document, is to meet that statutory requirement of the annual presentation. But again, it also has a lot of detail in here too that's particularly useful. Anybody have any questions on that preamble? Okay. So again, we're going to give an annual presentation for 2025 this evening. However, when I do these, particularly because of the COVID year, I will do a 2-year look back. So I'll do a 2025 and then 2024. We'll build on 2024, roll into 2025 is how we'll do it. And then Gina has this and it can be distributed, can be posted, it can be uploaded to Gateway, showcase that this has occurred. So if we want to go to the first page, that's where it says annual presentation. And you'll see IC 36-7, 25-8. So that's the statute in which we're doing this presentation under this evening. The Redevelopment Commission statute is in IC 36-7. So most of the redevelopment law is really 36-7-14. So if you're bored one day and really want to dig into statute, IC 36-7-14. There's also a really, really awesome handbook that one of the legal counsels throughout the state of Indiana utilizes. Barnes and Thornburg puts out a redevelopment handbook. They update it annually. If you haven't read it yet, I wouldn't expect you to read it, but I would encourage to get a recent vintage copy. And it's a really good desk resource to flip through if a question comes up to go, oh, I wonder if this is in here covered underneath within this document. And it gets updated every year with any new statutory changes. So let me get back onto this thing. So per IC 36-7-25-8, the Redevelopment Commission on an annual basis, if you have an allocation area, we'll get into that in a second, has to make a presentation of its activities, reporting on its budget and expenditures, the plans for the activities, and the impact of TIF districts on the taxing units. So this is 2024 data as well as 2025 calendar year data. So we state that within the opening. So the contents within this presentation: identification of the economic development area and allocation area, identification of the overlapping taxing units, identification of the Redevelopment Commission members, a review of TIF mechanics, summary overview of financials, summary of activities and impacts, and a presentation of the 2026 spending plan. So let's talk allocation areas and we'll talk TIF districts, okay? You're going to see two words that appear in this first bullet, economic development area and allocation area. So those are two important but different definitions. Your economic development area in general is the geographic area in which you can spend your TIF money. Okay, that's super high level. If we really want to get into the weeds, the expenditures of TIF are driven by being in the TIF, benefiting the TIF, or serving the TIF. So you can get out of those boundaries a little bit in those areas as long as it's back to serving the area. So the economic development area, again, is where you can spend your money. The allocation area are the specific parcels that comprise the economic development area. Okay, so when you establish a TIF district, you have to establish the geographic area, and then you have to explain and identify the parcels that are comprising that TIF district. So those together, the EDA and the allocation area, that's your TIF district. Typically, not all the time, but typically your EDA and your allocation area share the same boundaries. So that would be the word we call coterminous is what they would say. So they have the same boundaries and lay on top of each other. That's the case with what we call the Main Street allocation area. And you can see that yellow area generally describes that Main Street TIF district when it was established in 2013. There used to be additional identified personal property taxpayers. When you have a TIF, you collect on real property improvements and increases in assessed value for real property, and you can collect on personal property as well, personal property being business equipment. When this TIF district was established, there were a few more businesses that existed in town that were collecting, that this body was collecting TIF revenue from. Right now, it's just Owens Corning. So Owens Corning, when they invest in new equipment and they file their tax return and they determine what their assessed value is, if it's new and above the base, this body benefits from that. The third bullet on this, it says the allocation area does not have an established expiration date as it does not have any present debt obligations. So a TIF district is generally a 25-year district from the date of you enter into your first obligation. This, and when I say obligation, I mean bond, so debt. This body doesn't have a debt obligation associated with it. So your TIF district doesn't have a sunset date yet. And that's another term you'll hear is a sunset, or you'll hear somebody say, is the clock ticking on the TIF? And in this instance, you don't have it. The clock is not ticking yet. Moving on to page 5, the next page, you'll see that the area was amended in 2019. What this amendment did is it removed certain parcels that were within the original TIF district that were in there by error. There were a couple remnant parcels that were county parcels. So those were removed because only parcels that are within the corporate boundaries can be in your TIF district. And then a handful of additional parcels were added. So you can see that hatched area, which includes this building here that we're in today, was added to the TIF district, as well as some of the park areas and the hotel, the Cobblestone Hotel area was added within that hatched area in the green. As I stated before, the parcels that were added, only new increment that is collected from real property improvements. So like the Cobblestone Hotel, you would collect the real property from that. You wouldn't collect on this building because it's an exempt building. So it doesn't have any sort of assessed value related to it. So collectively, it's comprised of 368 taxpayer parcels. That 367 of those are real property, and then you have one Owens Corning taxpayer parcel. Does that make sense?
I'm really not familiar with the TIF a lot.
Sure.
If you don't mind if I ask a question.
Fire away.
So TIF, that's a tax stat in certain geographic areas. There's a tax from, because it's for the land or whatever, taken from there. It goes into a fund that is used for redevelopment.
Generally speaking, yes.
Okay. So who makes the decision on what those parcels are?
This body already has. You all made when previous iterations, when the TIF was established and expanded, they identified what the what the boundaries, geographic boundaries of what that was going to look like. So it's not an ever-changing list. It is what it's established to be. If you want to change the list, add parcels, remove parcels, there's a process, a very public process you have to go through to do anything like that. It involves multiple meetings, multiple oversight bodies from the town to be able to make those changes. So it's all played out in a very public fashion.
So do these landowners have a choice here? Or you just say, hey, you're.
Yeah, that's a good question. By statutory requirement, you don't have to have anybody sign off on it. You do have to have public hearings that are a part of this. Like there are multiple meetings, like to establish a TIF district or amend a TIF district, it would start by action by this body. Then it would have to go to the plan commission, then it would have to go to the council, then it would have to have a public hearing from this body. And then this body would then have to make a confirmation, as well as doing tax impact statements along the way. Like Adam Stone would do a tax impact statement that would have to go out to all the overlapping taxing units so they would understand what the impact of adding or amending the TIF would be. And, yep. So, yeah, so generally though, I mean, you want to put a TIF in an area where you are wanting or expecting a redevelopment to happen. And the general rule is that you can't go and we can't TIF the whole town, but we wouldn't want to either because there's properties that are within this town that don't give any revenue. They don't give any increment to you. So I'm going to get into this in just a couple slides and we can have a little more of an in-depth conversation about how increment is collected. So let me just get through these two and then we'll pop over to that one. So we have to report on what the overlapping taxing districts are for this TIF. So there's Franklin County, the Brookville Township, Brookville Civil Town, Franklin County Community Schools, Franklin County Public Library, and the Southeastern Indiana Solid Management Waste District. So these are all the units that have a taxing authority within the TIF. So because you're impacting assessed value, that determines levies and tax rates, these units always are notified of any sort of public action that would take place that would either change or alter the amount of assessed value that's coming in. So when I say that you have to inform your overlapping taxing units with a tax impact statement because we want to maybe expand this and add some new areas, these folks all have to get notified directly. Every June, when you do your notice of excess assessed value, these folks all get a notification as to whether or not you're passing any assessed value through. So that's sent out by certified mail to those taxing units.
That, I mean, has anybody ever like said, no, I don't want to be, leave me alone?
In the TIF?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. There's been situations like that. And working with the county and some of the TIFs that we established, the county used to have a provision, wasn't a state provision, but it was a local part of local ordinance that required signature and sign off from the property owner before we implemented anything. That's very rare. I mean, very rare. And typically when a TIF is established, there's a reason behind it. It's in alignment with your comprehensive plan. There's reason behind it. The folks who are, who maybe have vacant property in your TIF district, the TIF can be seen as an enhancement because it's something that can help accomplish the development, the investment in the property and getting a deal done.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
As part of this annual presentation, we have to report on the members that comprise. So we have the 2024 and 2025 rosters, and then we have to report on there too of anybody who left or was removed from the commission within a calendar year too. So that's part of Gina's report that she'll do to the state of Indiana as well. We have to update the roster and identify when they left or when they were on and when they left throughout the year. So I know there was some movement, unfortunately, with some of the folks too, particularly in 2025. So those are here. Now, the other important part is let's talk about board composition. This board has 6 members, 5 voting. So there's a non-voting school board representative that is a part of redevelopment commissions. They play varying roles. Just there's no voting authority that school board representative has. So folks who are coming on a redevelopment commission that are a school board member or a school board nominee, they understand that there's part of it. That was historically due to, again, the impact on assessed value and school board wanting it to have a seat at the table on the establishment of these districts that, again, impact how assessed value is collected. So let's move on to page 8, which gets into TIF mechanics. And this is the type of stuff that I kind of nerd out about. And this is exciting to me and probably not exciting to most people, but this is exciting to me. And so this is the basic TIF mechanics. And what you're looking at here on this graph or this exhibit is that you have the several terms and several things that can happen here. But the idea is that the TIF is created and you have what's known as base assessed value. So base assessed value is your assessed value in your TIF district the day it was created. Okay. So the idea is that that base assessed value is always there. It's always there for the overlapping taxing units when they're establishing their levies and rates. Every year, again, we're getting down the weeds a little bit, so bear with me. There's something that's called neutralization that's done. And the point of neutralization is like a look back on the base assessed value of each individual parcel to determine whether or not the value went up because improvement happened or the value went up because generally property just appreciated. So that base assessed value will move a little bit throughout every single year, but generally it's frozen at that pre-creation, pre-establishment amount. So all those 300 something parcels in there, they all have a base assessed value for when the TIF was established in 2013. What you hope is that over the time that you have your TIF, that this new development happens, that you have these investment events that happen. New buildings get purchased and maybe some get torn down and built. Maybe new ones, old ones get improved. Maybe vacant property has a new structure put on it. And so at each one of those events, the assessed value within the TIF district increases. So every time that assessed value increases, that orange area, that is your incremental assessed value. So let's say property X is worth $5 today and somebody rehabbed the structure and it's worth $10 now. Well, the 5 is always there as part of the base assessed value and your increment is on that new $5. And how do you get revenue? You take $5 times the tax rate equals your all's revenue. So multiply that times hundreds of thousands of dollars and over 300 parcels. You can see how that can create some revenue pretty quickly. The idea is that this TIF over time has worked. You've created this district, you've created it in these areas and chosen these parcels because you want new development to occur. And then after 25 years, the TIF dissolves and you're left with this post TIF assessed value, which was higher than the base when it was established. Ideally, all this new assessed value is there. It's for all the taxing units. Assessed value goes up, tax rates go down. That's kind of the general theory behind it on a TIF. Does that make sense? And so that's the basics. Like that's the basic building blocks of TIF and how it works. Ideally, you have these areas, you have them at a lower or depressed value, new things, good things happen, people invest in them, your AV rises, you all get revenue. The revenue is then put into public improvements or partnerships or programming or directly into development projects as prescribed by, again, that code IC 36-7-14. So moving along to page 9, this is way more financial, and then we'll kind of burn through this a little bit and then talk about some more like concrete examples. But again, remember this presentation is for the overlapping taxing units, much less for this commission. So you're going to see a lot of stuff in here that you'd say, oh, I already know this, or I kind of get this already. So the pay 2024. So we talk about taxes in the state of Indiana. Everything's in arrears, right? So we will speak about 2023 pay 2024, 2024 pay 2025. So this year your revenue will be 2025's assessments payable 2026, right? So that's kind of what we're working. We're looking back because this is an annual presentation. And again, I should add, you all receive revenue 2 times a year. You get 2 disbursements a year, and they're payable a couple months after you pay your property tax bills, right? So you typically see your TIF draw in, I'd say May, June generally, and then that's your first disbursement of TIF, and then your second disbursement is going to be November, December.
So is this TIF, tax, is it on your property tax? Thing?
No, that's the thing about it, and I think that's such a good question. If you are a taxpayer in a TIF, you generally have no idea you're in a TIF. There is no special assessment. There is no increased rate. You pay your property taxes, and the county auditor receives, or the treasurer receives those, and the county auditor appropriates those and disperses those. That is how it's handled. A lot of folks who are in the TIF are none the wiser that they're in the TIF unless they are, there's a reason why they want to be in there, a commercial user that wants, to understand that. But there's no physical, tangible, actual impact on the taxpayer that is in the TIF. They won't look at their property tax bill and say, oh, I'm in a TIF. That's all done behind the scenes, and it's just an allocation of those property taxes when they come in and get paid.
Okay.
Yeah. So they pay their taxes, and then it's just how that gets routed from fund to fund. Okay. So let's talk about incremental AV. We'll talk about that. So the main thing that I want you to take away from page 9 is your AV, your assessed value in your TIF is growing. That's good. It's a sign of a healthy TIF. Okay. And that's what you want to see. So if your AV is growing, ideally your annual revenue is going to grow. So in page 24, for example, your incremental assessed value was $12.75 million. Your revenue for pay 24 was $272,937.42. Moving forward to pay 25 this past year, your incremental assessed value was 13.787 million. And your revenue was $359,677.62. So let's look forward. This is a neutralization estimate of $15,460,082 is your incremental assessed value for pay 26. So again, this is what you want to be happening. You want your TIF to be growing and appreciating and getting more revenue so you all can do more projects. I think another note I want to make too, when we talk about the base assessed value, if a parcel on an individual level drops beneath the base assessed value in the TIF, your incremental assessed value has to go refill that bucket. So if a parcel was worth $5 when you established a TIF and now it's worth $4, then somebody else's $1 that you got on their parcel has to go here first to refill that bucket. The base AV can never be lower than it was when it was established. So that's another reason why you want to monitor your TIF pretty regularly, figure out whether or not there's depressed parcels in there that are dragging on your TIF. And a thing that you often see in communities is if there's going to be demolition that occurs, you may go and remove the parcel out of the TIF before it gets demolished. When it gets demolished, assessed value drops, then you would go add that parcel back in the TIF because you'd want to be able to get a higher amount of assessed value and increment there. Those are strategies that a lot of redevelopment commissions will utilize too.
Good to know.
Mhm.
It's a good one.
Yeah, the effective word is they'll call it pruning. You're always pruning the TIF. You're looking at it to see which branches are healthier than others, and you want to kind of get rid of the branches that could have a negative impact on you. There's also reasons why you would include largely. Let me stop for a second. TIFs in this TIF is an example of are largely called commercial TIFs. So within them, you're collecting incremental assessed value on what I'll call a 3% business, 3% rate cap business. So that's businesses that are retail, commercial centric, as well as apartments. Those are also ones that can be held. Those are 2%ers that caps that you can collect on. So What you don't often see is a lot of increment that come from single family residential. Those are typically neutralized out of your TIF districts. Why is that? Because as part of a commercial TIF, you aren't supposed to collect on single family residential. It's exempt as well through that. So it can add base assessed value. It can, but you can't collect on its increment. So that's something to look for in a large diversified TIF district, is to make sure those single family residential parcels aren't drags on you. However, if you want to focus on single family residential, let's say there's an open lot somewhere and you really want to see some infill residences or something like that, but you need to use TIF as a tool to be able to make the economics work on that deal. There's separate statute to allow for single family residential TIF, and only under the single family residential TIFs, you can capture the owner occupied residential. You can capture the 2% rentals. You can capture the 3% commercials within those. But for the most part, you would try to keep single family owner occupied residential out of your TIF district.
Okay, here, I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's have it.
Question, I just can't help it. So, all right, so
Yep.
you're in the TIF area
Mhm.
and you want to sell your house.
Yeah.
Do they have to know that it's in a TIF area?
Oh,
No,
has no impact. No impact. You just pay your taxes.
so it doesn't,
Yeah.
so it doesn't impact your real estate value or anything like
None whatsoever.
that? Okay.
Yeah. Yep, you'd still pay your taxes, you'd still file your exemptions, you do all that. Yeah, it doesn't. Mhm. Yeah. So I think that's, if there's one takeaway, if there's like, that you do not pay a TIF tax on your property, just pay your taxes. And then the TIF, once you pay your taxes, it's all allocated. That happens after you pay your taxes. Just graphically, that's what page 10 is, just a graphical assessed value growth. So just note that. Page 11, we start to get into your financials, so you can see the financial growth. We note the CD in there as well as expenses. So we like to look at things as like cash on hand within your fund, not your appropriated amount, but your cash on hand. So closing 2024 or beginning 2024 balance was $583,027.89. Closing balance was $273,951.94. Wow, that's a drop. Yeah, but 300,000 of it was a CD investment. So, that's an investment, not an expense. And then moving forward to page 12, this is 2025. This is what we just closed the books on. 2025 cash balance begins at 273,951.94. With a fund balance of $426,133.03 at the close of 2025. Note again where it says revenues, year-to-date 2025 revenues at the top. You'll see the June disbursement, the December disbursement. Those are your two revenue events that occur throughout the year. Moving to page 13. This board was really established with this operating fund that was from the Lawrenceburg grant, which is a relic of 15 years ago. So yeah, it's been a while, and it was kind of a thing of the past when we started in 16. And so that was seed capital for this redevelopment commission. And so that's now depleted. It had $76,231.21 in it for probably like close to 3 years before it was finally fully and completely drawn. But this is basically the old operating fund that this redevelopment commission had at its disposal and funded a lot of projects before revenue started coming in. And so it was a worthwhile investment, worthwhile use of funds, and now it's grown. You've been able to utilize it to grow the TIF. So great job. So let's get into the spending plan. Folks on here, how many were involved in the spending plan in 2026? Was it the majority of this group? Okay.
I think so.
So this is a new thing that started in 2025, this spending plan. So every December, by December 1 of every year, you have to complete and upload and notify the council of your spending plans for the upcoming calendar year. So in 2024, we filed the very first one ever for 2025, 2025, the second one ever for 26. And this establishes some budgetary guardrails for how you intend to spend your TIF money throughout the year. This is not an appropriation. When I say appropriation, this is appropriations, the authority that you have to spend a certain amount of money. This is I like to call it an executive summary of your intention to spend and where you want to spend those. Typically, you run a little higher than what you think you're going to spend in some areas because it affords you the ability to have some flexibility in the future year. If something changes, any of these line items need to be increased in some capacity or another. There are methods to amending this plan. Those are done for, and again, in a public process, it's approved here at this board. The amendments done at this board, and then those have to be filed with Gateway as well as the council if you want to change it. So I would say probably, I don't know, do you do this, Gina, around budget time? Do you start this in July or do you wait till after that?
I kind of just went off their last year's budget.
Okay.
And then they did their spending plan later.
Yep.
So I will have to do some amendments to my team gateway.
Okay.
Additional appropriation time.
So just again, this is quarter, we'll call it quarter 3, quarter 4 timeframe, and when this will come around for 2027 to be working on that next spending plan. Again, this was something that came out of new state statute that was approved a few years ago. Was this spending plan? And those happen. There's new changes happen every year in Indianapolis that impact the how this board operates and how it has to report on its operations and how it can spend its money and its capacities and those sorts of things. So that's another thing to always be monitoring is what's happening in Indianapolis because it may impact how you do your, at a minimum, how you do your reporting, at a maximum, how you use your finances. So let's talk about the positive impacts and project activity. Again, this board has been a pretty active one and has, in my opinion, typically swung above its weight class with the funds that it's had available on the projects it's been involved in, supporting community, the community's comprehensive plan, supporting the ISBDC and the boot camp. That's awesome. Continuing annual support of Main Street Brookville. We've had a lot of success and seen a lot of success from that entity and generating and leveraging outside funds and state dollars into the community. The Brookville Police Building is a prominent project that I know continues to evolve, continuing and maintaining the Brookville Facade Program. Those are little ROI chunks when you support a facade program that encourages investment and can sometimes encourage investment that is above and beyond what folks were anticipating doing in a building, and you can make that back through assessments. So once the assessed value comes in, the project's finished, you generally see a little bit of a revenue bump. Advanced planning and grant monitoring for water line and service replacement. Since I've been involved with this commission, Main Street 52, both ends of it, and looking for ways to improve the capacity and service level for the municipal utilities has been something that this commission has looked at and embraced. Due to recent state statute, you've been able to utilize funds to support police and fire in a way that you couldn't previously. So this board's begun to do that. Supporting Franklin County Community Schools. That's an initiative that I know this body does, the County Redevelopment Commission does, to assist with programs and marketing initiatives and continue to kind of plow some of the incremental revenue back into those areas so that we continue to attract students and keep families and hopefully people come back, they go off and they get a college education, they get a great job, and they want to, set up shop here because they had such a great time growing up here. And so it's continuing to invest in those, and that's allowed by state statute. There was some provisions that, we'll call it maybe like 15 years ago that altered how that support would come in. So a redevelopment commission can contribute up to 15% of its annual revenue to what they call them workforce training programs, but it's typically how the partnership occurs with the school corporations. Funding town park initiatives, funding the funds for the Eclipse event, that this board's been a part of that, supporting the rehabilitation of historic assets, another feather in the cap that this board has done and helped and assisted with the community. So those are all the positive impacts that generally occur and are coming out of this board. So Rita had sent some things to me as well regarding some parcels that were kind of parcels of note, areas to monitor that are for growth. And when she proposed them to me and digging into them, each one of them had its own little unique story to it. And so a lot of it too has some hook to this commission and its involvement. So I thought it was particularly for this board, while outside of the realm of what we have to do statutorily for this annual presentation, it would be a little more thought provoking, an opportunity to ask some questions about some of the use of tools and the assessed value. And these are some more concrete examples. So we can kind of dig into those and spend as much time with each one as you may want to. So with each of these, I've presented the parcel or the area, the project area, and then some notes for each one that are good reference material. One of the more prominent projects that I know I've been able to play some modest part in has been the Valley House Flats project. We working through that project has involved federal tax credits through housing. It's involved opportunity zone investment. It involved tax abatement here at the local level. All of these different levers that had to be pulled to be able to pull something like that off. The project is really cool because it involves what we call adaptive reuse, which is taking a building that used to be for something else and turning it into something new, a new use. So used to be the hotel, then various other things in its lifetime, and then now is prominently a senior living facility and an income restricted senior living facility. And then in the back, you have this new development, this new tower that's come out of there. We would call that infill development. And that's, you have a empty or broken tooth within your series of buildings, and you actually put something that used to be something there, and you put something new that's gone up and vertically developed. And so that part of that is income restricted, and part of that is market rate. And so market rate being there are no income restrictions on that parcel. So that was a really, really cool development, and is one that from the amount of levers that had to be pulled is really kind of complicated and pretty cool for a community like Brookville to be able to say, hey, we did that because it's just so complex and involves a lot of people kind of rowing in the same direction and being on the same page. So there's 7 parcels that comprise the Valley House Flats project in total. The base assessed value of all those parcels aggregated together, it was $251,809. So I won't pay attention to this. This is the pay 26 gross assessed value. So that when I say gross, that means that's what it is before there's any deductions or exemptions or anything like that added. So you'll see the pay 26 net assessed value. So that's after the deductions have been applied to it. So the net assessed value is $325,300. That parcel has an incremental assessed value of $73,491. So your TIF revenue from that parcel would be that $73,491 times the tax rate. Okay, so that would be your revenue from that project. So let's look at this and go, whoa, what's the deal with this gross assessed value and this net assessed value? What happened there? Well, one of the items is there's a 10-year property tax deduction that came on that. So that's an abatement that was a part of that project. So we're probably about halfway through that abatement now. When that abatement rolls off, that $790,900 that'll be your assessed value from that project. So there's revenue sitting there that in we'll call it approximately 5 years. I'd have to go check their filing on their abatement. You get 10 years for it. That's there and available when that abatement rolls off. So that's new assessed values just sitting there to capture for revenue. So your revenue, that's a note that, hey, our revenue is only going to increase from that particular development. Again, noting the property is mixed use, so there's 2% and 3% rate caps. What does that mean? Everything that's down the bottom that's commercial, that's going to be applied to the total tax rate. So the total tax rate Brookville is about 260, I think. For the areas that are apartments, there's a 2% rate cap on that. So that's nothing that you have to worry about. That all happens in the development of their property tax bill and how that's broken out. But just sort of a note that there's a cap on some of the rate that's applied to that. There is a commercial remodel that's kind of been ongoing, if you will, with regards to the kind of that restaurant component of it. So we know that there's maybe some additional value. And then I also want to note that SEA 1, which I know the council members are familiar with the impact of that. But between now and 2031, there becomes increased deductions for rental properties that are part of that. So again, it's all part of that delayed gratification. By the time the abatement rolls off, you will see revenue, you will see additional revenue from it. It just won't be as good as it was. But then again, that property is only going to appreciate over the next few years. So
That's a big change in those numbers.
Yeah,
That's a big one.
yeah. So yeah, so note that. I mean, we're talking about a property that has a base AV of 251 with a gross AV of 800. So it's a big change. It's big incremental assessed value that's still yet to be captured. And let's look at on the following. We're going to look at two different adaptive reuse examples. One is the 300 Main Street, the Hilltop Tavern, 606 Main Street, Coffee on Main. Those are both single parcel developments. There's a base assessed value for each one. Hilltop Tavern is 124,000. Coffee on Main was 116,000. So when the TIP was established, those were your AVs. Work has been done on those properties. And when work is done and improvements are made, what happens is it's never a 1-for-1. You know, if I'm going to put $10 into a project, I'm not going to get assessed for cost on $10. I'm going to get assessed on how that changed the effective age and depreciable value of that asset. And so that's done through the assessor's office. They'll come out, you know, you'll pull the construction plan or building permit. They'll come out afterwards and inspect, and then typically you'll see an increase in assessed value, but it's going to be modest by comparison to probably what they put in actual dollars. Still good. And you get enough of these going, you build enough momentum to where you have, you know, you're building up 100,000, 200,000 of new assessed value just from these improvements occurring to these structures. But again, I want to caution when if you do a facade program and you're investing in something, or you see somebody who comes in and puts a new awning and cleans up things with some tuck pointing, maybe a new roof, and they get a tenant in there, that's all good. We want that activity to happen because that makes it appreciate. It just won't ever be a $1-to-1 dollar amount of what it was they invested in that property. You will see some increase over time when sales transactions occur on properties. That'll make you kind of boost up a little bit because real estate market's been a little bit higher and a little bit hotter. So you may see some bumps there that are just from appreciation. But again, I want to note that these things are important. It will not result in a windfall of profit for you. It will result in additional revenue and incremental assessed value, just not, you know, a waterfall.
It's definitely an improvement.
Mm-hmm.
It's very noticeable.
So, and the thing is too, when you do those things, there's the aesthetic value and that character that comes with it too. And that also tends to put pressure on the surrounding property owners to where they need to do something now to step up a little bit. So that's just sort of a good outcome that can happen from those sorts of things. But again, that's kind of sort of like the rising tide raises all ships sort of philosophy. I also want to add again, I go back to that a lot of the building inventory in Brookville is older inventory, right? So it's like 1800s vintage. So when I'm going and putting in, if I put in $100,000 in a building that's 1800s vintage, it's still an 1800s building. So there's only so much higher it can go. And maybe I took an 1880 building, I kind of changed the effective age on it to like a 1930s building or something like that. But you can get into the individual property cards. If you really want to nerd out after you've read that whole handbook I just told you about. On the individual property cards, they have a calculation down at the bottom of them for the parcels. They'll give you the square footage, the effective age of the building, the functional obsolescence of the building, and they'll multiply that, and it'll show you how they came up with, the assessed value on it. Certainly, if you had to rebuild the same building today, it would be assessed so much higher. But we're not dealing in today's building. We're dealing in a building that's 1800s vintage. So those are, again, just sort of acknowledging those as we're working through and monitoring the growth that is available within the TIF.
The good thing it's going positive.
All
I
is
mean,
positive.
that
Up,
looks
up, up.
good overall, that it's
Up, up,
positive.
up.
It's a big
Absolutely.
deal.
So again, these next several parcels, they represent potential project areas. I want to talk about a couple because you'll see some that have zero incremental assessed value.
Could you kind of go through a little,
Mhm.
little bit more of that? I'm just totally lost on this.
Yeah,
There's one parcel, the base assessed value.
yeah.
Nothing, well.
There's something. Yeah, there's something, right?
I don't understand how this correlation is between all.
Okay, so it's a math problem. So it's base, I'm sorry, it's net minus base equals increment, or gross minus base is increment. I say net only if you've got additional deductions that are coming off of it. So it'd be, gross minus base equals increment. That's your incremental AV. And so in this instance, in these particular parcels, there's actually a lot of these parcels that have assessed values now that are underneath the base assessed value. So you, as the redevelopment commission, are actually contributing to raising these back up to their original base AV. So they're generating $0 for you right now. Now, these are vacant structures, so that shouldn't be horribly surprising, right? These also offer tremendous opportunity for incremental assessed value growth.
And
Okay.
that's why I wanted them to see that, because these are the buildings that they're working on currently. So this is gonna be a big change. I mean, it's gonna be a positive change.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So you're seeing this number right now for that incremental assess. Wait till, hopefully we see it next year or the year after.
So when the minute they get done with doing the work they're gonna do and they have it inspected, then that is a trigger to come out and assess it the following year. So because we deal in these payments of taxes and arrears, there's a little bit of like a delayed gratification for the projects that you may have within your TIF district, because they complete the project 1 year. Let's say they complete it in 26, they get assessed in 27. You're not seeing revenue from it until 28. That's just because of the way the property taxes work in Indiana. But Rita, to your point, these are being worked on. These are in your queue right now. And so there's incremental AV that's coming from these, probably to the level of, say, the Hilltop Tavern and Coffee on Main, those sort of impacts and effects, depending on the level of work that's being done to them. But still, it's positive growth and it's momentum that you have. It continues to put pressure on the surrounding properties and brings you all, again, incremental assessed value. This is it. The money here, the increment is supposed to be just that. It's increment that's supposed to be captured, utilized, and then reinvested back into the community. Because what you want to do ideally is create conditions that make private business owners, private real estate investors want to invest in these projects. That the risk is worth the reward, because they've got the redevelopment commission running alongside of them, continuing to invest in the public realm improvements. And then finally, the lots that I want to touch on last are ones that let's deal with the town of Brookville lot, the US 52 First Street lot. Town of Brookville lot has 000 because it's exempt. It's publicly owned, so it doesn't have any assessed value to it, doesn't contribute. Now, if this was to be flipped over into the hands of a private user, immediately it would get assessed value and generate revenue. Doesn't mean you have to do that. Doesn't mean you have to use it that way. It's in your TIF district for a reason. Maybe it's public reuse that you're wanting to do. And to, again, to continue to kind of put that pressure out or drive that energy to an area. But that's why that one's 000. It's exempt. The park would be 000 down here. This building, 000. The US 52 First Street lot near Shermer's Center, that has a base assessed value of $25,260 with a very modest net assessed value and incremental assessed value. Notably on that one, the improvement value is just on the land. There's no physical structures that are there to generate assessed value. So if something were to occur on that lot, let's say somebody put a commercial strip space or something like that. Let's say somebody put even storage units. I know nobody wants storage units there, but just thinking about like just putting structures on the property alone is going to generate real estate improvements that are going to go be assessed, and then you'll get the increment from that. Those properties that are land only within your TIF district are the ones that have the highest potential for incremental assessed value for this body, because it's just land value now. So all new structures will be assessed as a new structure would, and all of that is going to be incremental assessed value. So those there's very few empty spots, but those have the potential to have the most increase because there's no 1800 structure there. It's empty. It's vacant. And then finally, I want to talk about the D&G Reservoir Road area. There's 3 parcels that D&G has through there. 2 of them are within the Brookville corporate boundaries. 1 is in the county boundary. Those have been, for as long as I've been here, residential's been kind of the call for those. The strip of property that is accessible off 101 is the only one that currently exists within the TIF. The adjacent parcel could be added. You could amend the TIF and put that in there. But again, you want to balance that with, if they're just going to do standard owner occupied single family residential, as you and I would go buy a house, we take out a mortgage, we live there. There's no value to a commercial TIF. And you could put 100 houses on that parcel. If they're single family owner occupied, you wouldn't see any increment from it. Unless you establish a residential TIF there. If you establish a residential TIF, then you'd be able to capture the increment from it. Not saying you'd have to, but again, just kind of a strategy theory behind what it is you'd want to do, how you'd use that revenue. That's a question too. And as far as I know, there's nobody pulling building permits out there right now, but I want to note that it's like if it's calling for residential, if that's what they want to do there, they're wanting to build single family. Now, if they put apartments on there, again, I'm not saying anybody wants apartments, just using this as an example. If you put apartments on there, and you added it to the TIF, you'd capture that to your commercial TIF. Be okay. You wouldn't have to build or create a single family TIF for that. It was a commercial TIF, so you could collect on that. So just, again, that's more of a strategy, theory, practice. How does that meet your plan as a redevelopment commission? What is you're trying to do? How's that align with your comprehensive plan? That's why it's always encouraged interaction between the redevelopment commission and the council, because together, if everybody's on the same page, you can really start to move some things forward. That's all I have. I've talked for a super long time. I know I have.
That was really good. That was really good.
Absolutely. I try not to talk too fast, but I do. I talk with my hands a lot, which can be distracting as well. Rita and Todd, they've got my information. I'm an open book. I'm happy to receive emails, answer questions, assist you on your growth goals. If you got Adam working for you too, utilize Adam as well. He's super sharp and knows a lot about how to structure these sorts of things. Seek help, be open to guidance, ask questions, be curious. This is hard. Redevelopment's hard. It uses weird terminology. It involves difficult discussions. It involves some decision making. It involves some planning. And this is not like it's not inherently intuitive. So, I wish you luck in what you're trying to do. I'm here to support you in any way possible.
So much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Yeah, let's do it. Again, I'm here as long as y'all want me to be here.
All right, but this is, I think I know the answer to it, but,
Yeah.
okay,
Mhm.
so. There's a golf course up there.
Yes.
on it, And Brookville owns it.
Mhm.
So obviously it cannot be in a TIF
Right,
district.
right.
But if it would be sold,
Mhm.
and then it could go into a TIF area though, right?
Yeah, so I'm gonna take that in two different parts, okay?
Yeah.
Because I can't help myself. One, you could expand the TIF up there. It would be tricky because you can't cross through county boundaries. You have to like stay within municipal boundaries to make it work. If you look at one of the county's TIFs, it was the Golden Road TIF. They expanded it over to 101. We had to go around town to do it. So we can't kind of run roughshod over county land. So you'd have to monitor that. But you could expand the TIF up to the golf course if it was, and you do that. Why would you do that, Nick? Well, you do it if there was the town wanted to continue to hold the property, but there were improvements that everybody thought, these are worthwhile things that need to be done, but redevelopment, you have funds to potentially invest in that. So you could do that, just like the park. The only reason the park was added was so that it could be supported by this commission financially. Okay, let's say that none of that exists as today, and let's say that the town was looking to dispose of the golf course and have a private owner come in. Right now, it is exempt, so you would want to TIF it before it moved into private hands, because you'd be able to get their incremental revenue from it because it's zero right now. Yeah, so that would be a strategy if you were thinking about something like that. Not going out and encouraging everybody to expand TIFs left and right, but just some planning that could be a part of it.
Is the golf course? I know the town owns it. Is it part of Brookville or is it in the county?
Yeah, there you go then. I mean,
It's in the.
So we can't tip it.
yeah, you can't TIF that. It would need to be, it would need to come in.
Okay.
Yeah, hey, thanks for that. That's a good point. Correct. Yeah, you can't TIF county property. They can't come in and TIF yours either though. So,
Yeah.
So
that's
none
part
of-
of it.
None of the new housing that they want to put up there will be in the TIF area.
They've got their own.
They've got their own stuff. County has their own TIFs.
Can the county come in and put a TIF on the golf course?
I suppose they could, but there need to be a reason behind doing it. I suppose they could, but I don't know why you would, because it's a publicly owned exempt asset. There's not a lot of upside for it there. Unless they were planning on doing a course renovation for you or something.
Unless the town would.
I'm sure they're really on board with doing that, right?
But if the town was going to sell it,
Yep. Yeah, you could, but again, you wanna, I caution this. I've done enough
The rumors.
I've done enough TIF creations, expansions to know there's a public process for this. It is not like the most like universally welcome thing to come in and TIF an area. It's difficult. You need to be sure why you're doing it. You need to be clear why you're doing it. And there typically needs to be a plan I shouldn't say typically, always, when you create a TIF district, it has to have an economic development plan that describes why you're doing it and what you're going to use that revenue for. So that's, I say that and that you have to exercise caution. You don't just go forward and TIF everything. It also involves hiring typically an attorney and a financial advisor, which comes with cost. And so to do a TIF work, you're going to be in several thousands of dollars in professional fees. So you got to be willing to foot the bill on that too.
But isn't it negative for the schools? Because the schools are not getting as much.
So that's a discussion point that has been batted around for a while. So the mechanics of the TIF, they impact funds that are rate driven funds. So if you have something if your funding source is assessed value times the tax rate equals this, And so that's where the complaint used to come in, like on cum cap or something like that, or even what used to be the improvement fund for school corporations. School corporations budgets don't work that way anymore. They did some changes in 2019 and 2020. Does it impact the amount of assessed value? Sure. Does it impact the, does it impact necessarily the rates and levies to the extent that folks would think? No, it does not. So consider like the county has hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars of assessed value, right? So I like to think of it as, the county's towns, schools, assessed value is the reservoir. The TIFs that are and the assessed value associated with those are like raindrops in the reservoir. I mean, we're talking about your all's total TIF is $15 million worth of assessed value out of probably close to $1 billion in county assessed value. So it's very watered down in that respect. There's not a one-to-one, hey, we captured 15 million, so the schools don't get $15 million. It's not how it works. It's not how it works at all.
So is what you're saying, then the school is not gonna lose any revenue for the TIF because the TIF did?
Yeah, that's a kind of a nuanced question, but generally, no. Yeah, it wouldn't lose revenue.
I think there's people that would argue that.
They
Yeah.
can feel free to. It's, but,
Yeah.
You
just,
say generally no,
Mhm.
so it could be a possibility. No?
if there's situations where your tax rate reaches property tax caps thresholds, like if we were to do something to where to get the levy, the tax rate were to increase substantially and were to increase, say, above a 3% tax cap, then yeah, obviously everybody would be affected by that because
This is contradictory from what we've been hearing, but or even seen that, like the superintendent, he went and he'd even asked at least for 5% of the TIF.
Hmm.
So if it doesn't affect the property taxes or taxes for them or the revenue, then why would he be asking that?
yeah, it's been, I think it's low hanging fruit in my opinion, in that instance. And, I think that's really what it comes down to. Schools are struggling with revenue, just like all the other overlapping taxing units are. You have revenue that may be unencumbered and uncommitted. It is by nature of the calculation, it's assessed value that they don't get when they're developing their levy for their budget. But, it's not a one-to-one impact. So, I think that's really what it kind of comes down to for me. It's unencumbered money. There's been a lot of, in TIF history, there's been a lot of headbutting between schools and redevelopment commissions because of these impacts that it formerly had on rate-driven funds. Those don't exist anymore though. So, now that but to counter that, to answer that, that's where the provision of the 15% share was created, was to try to offset that. Well, that portion of the statute remained. Even after the school funding formula changed, that piece remained. So it just creates a pathway for partnership. That's why you have the non-voting school board member on there too. I mean, it's an oversight piece that is, again, part of the history of TIF and history of redevelopment commissions.
And that's why we put them in our spending plan too.
Mhm.
Put them in there.
And Becky, for result, I don't understand this either.
Mhm.
That's why we
It's
have.
all new.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, so I think it's tough to do a broad brush on everything and say 100%, no, this never affects it. But I would say generally, no, it doesn't have any impact because there's not a dollar for dollar fund that exists to where if I move $10 over here, you're not getting $10 anymore. That's not how it works. If you all were to take your assessed value, the 15 million that this body collects, and this is part of what Adam does when he does these financial analyses for TIFs when they're created or expand or move. They have to do this tax impact statement. And basically what it says is, hey, what would happen if we passed all the assessed value through? What would happen if we passed all that 15 million through? How would that impact budgets and tax rates? And typically what it comes down to, particularly at the levels that we're talking like fractions of a penny in tax rate changes, like fractions of tenths and hundredths of your rate that really get impacted. It's not a tangible dollar for dollar amount. If you all were to release all of this there, now if you have rate driven funds within your community, maybe those increase certainly, but again, not to that one-to-one level that most people would assume that it does.
What is a rate-driven fund?
Yeah, a rate-driven fund, the one that I go to most often is like your Cume Capital Development Fund or something like that. It's a fund that is buried within your tax rate. Because your tax rate is obviously, it's made up of all these little sub rates, right? You know, it's like Brookville town tax, library tax, school tax, so on and so forth. And then you've got these other taxes that are in there that, again, are called rate. One's levy driven. Like a levy driven fund is it is a fund that is constrained by your ability to grow it every year. I think the state usually allows a 3 to 4% levy growth every year. And so that's kind of like your general operating funds are these levy driven funds. So levy is just, this is how much budget we've got. Here's the amount of assessed value we got. What does the tax rate have to be to equal that budget? And so a rate driven fund, like a capital development fund, for instance, was a capital development fund, one that goes into doing capital development and capital projects. So that may be, 0.02 of a percent of that total tax rate. And that 0.02% would be times all the assessed value to get your revenue. So no, this is terrible. So it's a terrible explanation, but that would be like a rate driven fund. But I don't, again, it's percents of your rate, and it's percents of your rate times your assessed value. So yeah, if you added 15 million worth of AV into your bucket and you times it by your rate, that's going to be an increase. How much?
That's why we have Nick.
Mhm.
It's like, yeah, it has its own language. There are concepts that are difficult and to kind of pull together. I just inherently tax rates and levies and budgets they're kind of, it's not a common language that we all deal in. It's a very like government centric language on how you create funds.
On the Gateway site,
Yeah.
it does break that down too.
Mhm.
And that's something that I know that I just recently keep going on to. Gina showed me that, and it's interesting how it all breaks down on what the rate is per area it's going into. It's nice to see it. I mean, you can really get a better idea seeing it visually through that. So.
Yep. And from a rural community and you're paying your taxes, the majority of your tax rate is actually coming from the school. It's a school tax rate, I would say. And I would say the other large chunk, if you're living in the town, is going to be the town, which they use their taxes to pay for services and those sorts of things. And then there are these other little sub rates. Not to diminish them. Libraries and those sorts of things are very important, but they demand a much smaller component of that overall tax rate. And then when we got this assessed value and somebody's back in the back over at the county figuring out where the money needs to go, it's those percentages of that rate that determine where it's got to go.
Well, Brookville, our school, excuse me, except I guess not St. Michael's, but our Franklin County High School is obviously in the county
Mhm.
TIF, right?
It's not TIFed.
Huh?
It's tax exempt.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Public use. Tax exempt. Yep. Mhm.
So I was thinking, what if we would redistrict it into the Brookville or maybe?
Well, again, it wouldn't, you can still, as a redevelopment commission, partner with them if you want to, and the capacity and capability is there because the statute allows for it. So you can always do that, even if they're not in municipal boundaries, even if they're not, in your community. I mean, you wouldn't want to get too far, but you have some leeway with how you partner with schools on those sorts of things. So yeah, you can still support them. They don't have to be, in corporate boundaries to support them.
Thank you.
You have anything else? I do have one. I hate to ask, but on the other night when we were looking at the one property in the TIF, and you were wondering if it was industrial. You remember that on the property right outside of town in the TIF? Yes. And we looked and it said Main Street. Is everything by Main Street going out of town, up the hill, Is that all Main Street TIF?
So Brookville has only one. There's
Okay,
only one allocation area.
okay,
So if it's in the TIF, so you're talking about the
Bottom.
bottom one? Yeah,
Yes, yes.
that's in your TIF.
got it.
Yeah.
And that would be under Main Street.
Mhm.
TIF. Yep. Maybe you were thinking it was zone.
Yeah,
Okay, got it, got it. I was like, it's been bothering me ever since. I'm like, what is it now? So, okay,
I'm
easy one.
gonna check out this map and make sure my house isn't on
It
here.
can be, just pay your tax bill, it's fine.
Well, while you're up there, if we don't mind moving on to the police building itself,
Mhm.
and I think we probably need to really hone in on discussing that with you past this too, is the concept that we have and moving forward and us redeveloping that building for the projects for the town and basis of that. Vicky brought up a really good point on timeline, but not so much timeline, like what do we do? 1, 2, 3?
Yeah.
No prioritization.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Prioritization, exactly.
Yes. And so that's kind of where we are. And if we are needing to do something, you know, we really need some help on that.
Are you seeking,
Is that something that you
Go ahead.
think, Todd, and we are, when we need bids, or if we're looking to do the plans, hire people in, do we need to have it assessed? Can we go ahead and we know what has to be done and go ahead and hire the contractors, bidding process? Is there anything that we're missing that we're like, we really needed to do this because it's in that area?
yeah, I would just say,
Yeah.
from my kind of limited perspective here, as the redevelopment commission, that property falls within the TIF district, so you can spend money on it. So, check one box there. 2, professional service providers, whoever those may be. That can be engineers, that can be architects, attorneys, financial advisors, those sorts of things. Those are all, you can pay for all of those with TIF revenue. That's an eligible use of your funds to pay for those services. You also don't have to bid for those as professional services. You can just go directly and contract out with whoever you want to work with. If you're going to have construction done, then based on the amount of construction will determine your procurement methodology. You're a public body, so you still do have to procure those sorts of services. So if somebody's actually going out there and swinging a hammer or constructing something, depending on how much the improvement is, you'll need to procure that, whether it be through quotes or sealed bid or something of that nature, depending on the level of that. So we can remember that too. I may also say that if you have somebody who's doing specs for you, for what you're looking at doing, you may also consider having that entity provide inspection services on a limited basis for that improvement. That's to protect your investment. So you just want to make sure that what somebody said they were going to build for you follows the specs of how it was said it was going to be built for you, and that you're getting the result that you want. So I mean, I would say that, like, just from a public project management perspective, would be my approach on all of that. But you can do that immediately. Once you figure out what it is you want to do, then you can determine your budget for that, and then you can determine how you procure that and get that done. It sounds like you've got a plan, for how you want to use the space, and you can take bits and pieces of that, or you can look at kind of something that's a little more comprehensive. Your legal counsel would probably frown at like little incremental chunks of like breaking out, I'm going to have somebody do the doors, and I'm going to have somebody do the windows, and somebody do that, but if you had somebody that said, I can only do half of this building this year, and then that other half I'm going to do next year, then yeah, that's fine too. That's how I would approach it. You guys have some cash to do some things, which is great. Just be wise on how you prioritize those sort of items, protect your investment, to make sure you're getting the result that you want, that you're getting something that's going to last and stand the test of time and be a public asset. so who owns the property now? Is it town? Town owns the property. Okay. So you have the ability to spend on it. You can't maintain it though. So like we can do this capital project and then, but and you can maintain it while you're doing your project. But once you're done with your project, if the roof leaks, you can't go in there and fix the roof. And that's gonna come out of somebody else's money. You paid the capital cost to cover the initial roof. If somebody throws a rock through the window, TIF can't go and fix that window.
So if it's owned by the town,
Mhm.
redevelopment can do
Yeah.
the project.
Mhm.
The town retains ownership
Mhm.
and would have to maintain it then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So if redevelopment took on ownership, it could continue to rehab it as it owns the project, and maintain it as it owns the project, but the long-term intent should not be for the redevelopment commission to hold an asset. It's just to spend money on it and then get out of it. That's,
If you have
Mhm.
apartments in it,
yeah.
and you're making the money,
Mhm.
does that go to the redevelopment or the town?
Who's the lease with?
Be it,
Yes. Yeah. Now, if you want to kick it over to them, I'm sure they'd appreciate it, but
But would we really be leasing the apartment? Because I thought we talked about giving the apartment to an artist.
Well,
That's-
it's just an example.
Yeah.
It's just an example.
Okay.
yep, we've got I'm in the community down in my neck of the woods in Sellersburg. We have a similar situation. The town actually swapped property with the school. So the town is now the rightful owner of a really beautiful, but 1920s, 30s era schoolhouse. And so it doesn't know what to do with it. The town got it and they're evaluated it for a town hall and said, well, we don't want to spend this much money on this. Our town hall is kind of fine. What do we do with it now? Well, we've got a daycare in there right now. So the town is actually maintaining the lease and maintaining the property while the daycare's in there. When the daycare's lease terms, it's being flipped over to the redevelopment commission. At that point, redevelopment commission is going to dispose of the property. So we're going to do an adaptive reuse where we bring in maybe some multifamily and then some commercial in the back. It's a rather large parcel, so we have the ability to create it, but we take a property that was exempt for a long time. It is a historical asset that has character and a community connection to it, and the redevelopment commission has the opportunity to go in and preserve it. So that's the role it plays.
So once the redevelopment would fix it up
Mhm.
and then it would go back to the town's hands, what if the town wanted to sell it a few years? Just.
Yeah, if they were, so
Would go to the town?
if you're just going to be doing improvements on it, I wouldn't say swap the property. There's not a lot of benefit to that, but I would say that if in a few years you've rehabbed it, and the town wants to dispose of it, I would say to the town, give it to the redevelopment commission to dispose of it. Your authorities that you have as the redevelopment commission to dispose of property is far more flexible
Good.
than if the town holds it.
Good.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
when the redevelopment would sell it, money all goes to redevelopment then, say it?
In that instance, yeah, but I mean, you could work through a transfer or reimbursement or something like that. Yeah.
We're always pass money.
Yeah.
To the.
Yeah, you can pass through, you can reimburse in a variety of ways too. So let's say that let's say there's a project that you wanted to do and it was kind of outside the use of TIF. So let's say you wanted to do some sort of a grant or loan program that maybe isn't allowed by TIF, but the town could say, well, hey, we'll use our lit because our lit's pretty flexible. So you could say as the redevelopment commission, hey, thanks for doing that. What project do you have in your budget this year at that amount? And we'll go ahead and we'll fund that out of TIF. We'll reimburse you in that manner. So you can do, maybe you're gonna replace 2 blocks of sidewalks, and in exchange of that, you're gonna do that out of lit. Well, redevelopment, we'll take it on, and then you guys do the thing we wanted to do. So there's a little bit of that back and forth too. But yeah, I would say again, disposition, the way laws have been set up and they continue to be set up, far more flexible through redevelopment to dispose of it because there are provisions after you offer it. If you don't get a viable offer, you can basically go in and negotiate directly on a property and maybe find maybe it's less than the appraised value, but you get a better project out of it, and you can do that.
And I'll throw out
Mhm.
that the blight elimination properties behind like G2
Mhm.
apparel were done this way with Nick's guidance of seeking developer proposals for that property, of what they would pay and what they would use it for and what it would produce. We got none.
Yeah.
So we ended up negotiating with G2.
Mhm.
And anyway, they committed to doing parking and some things like that that
Otherwise, you wouldn't have. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, you still got you still got a benefit. The property became private use. You were able to manage what that was going to ultimately look like. It may not have been the thing that you wanted to do or were hoping for, or maybe realistically that couldn't have happened anyway. But you still got a benefit out of it.
so we didn't have to take a low bidder or anything like
Yeah.
that. It's do the one that's most beneficial.
Yep. You end up effectively, you take on, you either get no responses or the responses you have aren't what you want, so you reject them all. And then at that point, you get, there's a 30-day cooling period, but after that, you can dispose of it however you see fit. That's allowed through redevelopment commissions. The council doesn't have that flexibility.
Fun things.
Mhm.
Good question. Okay, anything else on that? I know, like it's getting later, but this is huge. I mean, this has really been a lots of good questions here. Really,
I'm always here to answer questions. I can point you to resources, additional reading. I know if we want to, if there's more discussion about the school piece of it, there's things that you can read and digest with exhibits that make more sense than me throwing words at you. So there's that too. There's lots of resources out there. I mean, TIF is a community has very few tools to actually fund economic development and redevelopment. The council has tax abatement, and then you have TIF. Outside of that, there's not a lot of tools and resources out there for communities in Indiana to be able to like encourage development or address blight or acquire property, et cetera. So it is a powerful resource and you know, a thoughtful use of it that's in alignment with your comprehensive plan. That's what I always encourage.
it's really done a lot in this area. That is for sure.
You all have made historically the most with a very limited amount of resources. I mean, it's just a lot of leverage everywhere, and it shows.
So the Wheatley Group is like a consultant?
We are a consultant. Yeah.
You are?
We're not like one. We are one.
Oh,
I
that's
call,
my teenage talk coming out.
That's all right.
I describe him as our economic development consultant.
Oh, okay,
That's,
yeah.
I like.
Yep. That's the easiest way to do it.
And he's the one that brought the opportunity zone to us.
Oh, okay.
So
Well, we had a few good projects. We had a good run there for a minute. It was fun.
I never heard of that until a few weeks ago, opportunity zone.
Yeah. Yeah. It was an interesting piece of legislation. And we were, there's actually there's a really interesting book that was written, and the Brookville plays a part in that book. Actually, has its own section in that book. And it is it highlights how the program was used correctly. It is as a shining example of how opportunity zones were supposed to be used. Because there's a lot of opportunity zones that were set up in areas that were gentrifying or already undergoing redevelopment, and they just caught a good census tract. So it was maybe in a downtown area, which is already gonna, location, but utilizing one in a rural area in Indiana to affect change got the attention of some folks.
Okay, I am behind on this, that opportunity zone. Can someone just give me an example of how we use that? Maybe
Yeah,
something in the future?
it's an investment tool. And it's
What was the evidence that was, such an example for others to look at?
So I will say that the Valley House, the Cobblestone Hotel,
Okay.
and newspaper purchase are all
That's
outcomes. Yep. Yeah, that you have a large census tract that covers most of Brookville. Those because of the tax breaks that were allowed, the income tax breaks that were allowed through the opportunity zone, local folks directed some of their gains into local projects.
This is opportunity where if you have money, you can put into, yes, okay.
Yep.
To make it all
Back,
happen, but-
yes.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. I think we're good. I think we're good here.
Sorry, I keep extending.
No, it's huge. Thank you very much.
It was a very enjoyable discussion, I thought.
That was
Very
really
nice.
good, really good. Oh, shoot. Okay, where do we want to go here? I think we know that we're going to help improve that building, get it back and going. It's really going to take another month to really look into this. And I think the best thing to do with it is send this plan over to you, an idea over to you. And if you guys want to have any discussion about it, we can open that up or we can leave it till the next month.
We'll be here.
I
all
love it.
night, I think. I like some of it. I didn't like all of it. I have to be honest. Yeah. So how many points were there in it? Like, or
How many different, I think it was like around 8 different options, that it can really cover, but I think there's more than that. It's a lot. I mean, I've gotten a lot of emails for collaboration.
There's a lot that can come from.
Can
them.
come from it.
Yes.
So my thought is, why wouldn't we want to hire a project manager to manage this up so that we can do everything that he said to make sure everything is done right?
I think we can do that. I think we can be the manager of that project. I think we can. I think that with our backgrounds, I think we're very capable of doing that. I honestly don't think we do. Do you, Todd? I mean, do you guys? I think that first we need to look at the project. Let's put it together.
Yeah.
And then decide that. I think that's the best way to handle it. Yeah, let's look at the whole project and hopefully in a month it can really kind of nail it down a little bit more. And we're gonna, really look at the building a little bit more to assess that. And we'll get the feedback from Hartzell's and the other people from this. I think maybe next month really would be the time to nail it down on this. And then you guys can decide, is that outside person what you guys want to do? Or, can we handle that project?
think?
We just need to see the level of what it is.
Right.
We really don't know what that is right now.
How much work is there really in it? How much does this cost? Can we do this, that kind of-
Right.
We've got $100,000 budget at the moment. Which,
It's not much.
right.
not much.
Right. Right.
And see what there's this arts and culture grant
Mhm.
process going on.
Mhm.
There's a lot of things to see if they come together and align and make something maybe more than it is right now.
Right. I mean, the grants we're looking at, the collaboration we're looking at, I think we just are scraping right now. We're just scratching the surface of everything. Maintaining the building as it is, just keeping an eye on that. Working with the town people just to kind of keep that moving, make sure that's good. But really, we don't know. I mean, until we really get into this, I mean, I don't know pricing. We have the concept now. We have good bones on that building. It's a nice building and
Get some estimates rolling.
yeah, we need to come up with a design first.
Need to.
Yes. What is the number after we look at this? Do we want to do it? Do you want to sell? What do you want to do? But I think we have a great opportunity here. It's a great location to be something that can really bring this town together and it's needed. And everybody else seems to doing their work on that main street. So I think adding us and really being that hub and that what we can do, but we don't know yet until we can get everything together, all the components down. It's gonna take some work and hopefully we can come up with something in 30 days, so you guys can see that.
I would like, if we have time and you guys don't care, I mean, can we just go through each of these and just kind of put a little verbiage on them, you know, between us all, just so we all have a real understanding of what we're saying in here?
You mean on the landing?
On the landing,
Yes, yes.
You're welcome to stay, but. Okay.
if you guys want to do that, we can, and yeah, if you guys want to just do that quickly. And the other thing is too, don't feel like it has to be here. Send me a note, or anybody send us all notes, and then we can look into that. Also, while I'm going through these grants, I'm probably going to ask some questions. So I'm not just gonna whiz it, but the landing is a community first, fully accessible arts and gathering space located in downtown Brookville. It serves the Main Street hub, focused on helping people and businesses succeed, supporting the small business, artists, organizations that make what Brookville is. We want to make it a home base where events, collaboration, and business support come together, working closely with everyone, creates an opportunity, visibility, long-term success while remaining welcoming, inclusive, and open to residents, visitors, and artists of all backgrounds and generations. So between that and the purpose, does anybody want anything? And one thing is to stop for the visitors traveling to the nearby trails, the Whitewater River, and the regional destinations.
So then you've got to break it down into, okay, here's what kind of
The welcome
the
area,
visions are, vision would be for the ground level, would be these things. And maybe we
Okay.
wouldn't be able to get all of these things, right? Because of space restrictions. I don't know, you know, what is the plan to like do like decide which ones we want, how much
Oh,
room do we need
I
for
think
that?
they did measurements. I think
That's
they're.
what I say, have to
there's-
do a
I
measurement and
There's been a
categorize.
measurement and like, this is good representation of what could actually happen within the space itself right now with I mean, if I understand correctly, Rita, like
yes.
each of these components is very much doable within that space.
Oh.
And that's
okay.
already,
Been measured and.
yeah.
And I
included
think
in-
too, when we get the plans for the next month, that's gonna be a really good eye opener to see what could work, what can't work, but you know, the welcome area is not just the inside of the building, it's the outside of the building too. You know, you can use that for the marketing. Come by, see where the businesses are. You know, that's the welcome area is in and out. Bathrooms, not open all the time, but when somebody's there, we have somebody, an incubator. We have been talking about this for years on helping small businesses succeed in this area. That is some room that we will have on that. We'll have a downstairs area open when Main Street moves over. That'll be an extra space there that can be open for a possible incubator or upstairs. Community collaboration office. I think this is my biggest one that I feel like is the best, and the community collaboration, a professional shared space for Main Street economic development, redevelopment coordination, equipped with high-level technology for marketing, communication, and grant coordination. That is what is going to keep it successful. We want to put an area there that we can bring in, and I spoke to different colleges that they can use their capstone. We can bring people in for their co-op and intern for a college level, high school level that can really come in and help with economic development, marketing, communication in the background, where they can really go in and use that as SEOs, use all the different platforms that we haven't used yet. I mean, for all the younger and older, there's so much more we could be capturing. And you could get that rolled around with a, not that, where we're not hiring somebody full time, we can keep doing that. Right now, we don't have that. We have Nick, we have Fowler, we have Main Street, we have us, but somebody can really get in there and have that high level technology communications option.
High level technology, That sounds like money to me, a lot of money.
Well, it's surprising. It keeps getting cheaper, actually. I'm telling you, I had a computer we used for engineering, used to spend about 10,000 on a computer. Just spent 2,400. It was $2,400 at Micro Center. It runs our equipment so much faster than ever. It takes the drone data, captures it. It is high level, it's quick. So it's amazing how much you don't have to spend like you used to.
Yeah.
And also a lot of these Facebook, Instagrams, that's free. Those are free things. And that's free advertising. Also, there's a lot of SEOs in the background, meaning once you tag little things, you're grabbing people from over here in Washington, DC, over here in Texas, maybe just here in Liberty. That's what you want to target. So when I market with our business, I go into an area, this is where I want to work in my background. I hit all these things and I can really grab and capture who I want to. Go ahead. It's so it's kind of like I put in there and say, here's Todd Thackeray in Brookville, and he needs people to work for him over here in Cincinnati. Then I go in and it says SEO on my little background, and I say, I want Cincinnati architecture, living in this certain area. And those people will start seeing your information or your website when they start clicking in onto the computer. So, thank you very much. I was like, what is that? So, I mean, it's so much we're missing, and I feel like we could be bringing those people in, and what a great hub to have them.
And actually it would save money because you would have top-notch, kids are in college, with the technology, doing your advertising through, like Rita was saying,
Mhm.
as part of their, final class projects. So we would they'd be doing their hands-on studies, and we would be getting, the
Right.
benefits from all of it.
We would be targeting the communication and marketing kids in there, just like we do for surveying. We target those, and those are interns and co-ops that work for us. And, they bring as much learning to us as we do to them. So it continues to help everybody around them be more present. So those are kind of things to be working around. And I don't know why I went to a meeting, Franklin County College collaboration, and I really met all of them from Miami University, Ivy Tech, and Richmond IU East. And they were, this is exciting here. I mean, they really want to hone in on the Franklin County High School, and they're really working with the co-ops and interns. And then they grab them, and then you have that communication with them. And they're like, if that's what you're looking for, we add you into our intern and co-op, options for those kids that are working in those things. So you choose them, and, maybe you have to pay them a certain amount while they're there. So, because you want to pay for their gas and stuff, but it's not something that is a $100,000 ordeal. It's something to think about and collaborate with all those people. And Franklin County was already collaborating, and that room was impressive. It was impressive. And talking to them afterwards and bringing this up, they were so excited. They're like, let us know and we will come together. So
It's such an opportunity.
yeah, I mean, it's just one thing after the other. Emails, contact the arts initiative. We were talking about different murals in different areas. It's that hub, that collaboration. So that's kind of where that is. The community amenities, I think it's important that AD accessible. It's ground level building. That's awesome. And you put that refreshment coffee, you can have that 30 plus used for arts programming, music. We could do regional events here, bring Ready or the AIM group down to us during these meetings. And, those are just all kinds of little things. But that last wing where the policemen used to have their sitting area, relaxation area, we would put the extra bathrooms in there and that garage, maybe take out that wall, take out those blocks that are, have some good black stuff on them right now.
Yeah.
Take those off, keep the ceiling, maybe use the garage doors, use that for the entertainment area. For musicians to come in, they're covered, we all hang out around it like they do for Main Street options. The upstairs having in the back, there's already kind of like a kitchen, bathroom area, bedroom, and a nice, big, beautiful room for artists to be able to have their art there and possibly use that as as an artist in residence living space. And so that's something that we've talked about at those art meetings with the Ready grants. And that can use the visual part. You can use artists, meaning artwork, musicians, artisans, any kind of cultural partners like that too. We have Metamora. They're a great partner that we could go with. So that kind of sums up and each room is pretty much separated out right now. And they have 3 extra rooms that maybe we could use for offices or somebody could, I'm not really sure.
Have they already been in there doing like putting up walls and so forth like that?
No. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No, the upstairs is really nice and it needs to be updated, but the woodwork is beautiful. And they were able to really save all of it during all that. So that's really good to see.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a little bit about it.
Yeah. How about this large community meeting room?
Yes,
Seating of
that's
30
one of
plus
the biggest
people.
things I love about that place.
No, you do that, because my question with that was we have like the library that's got conference rooms and we've got
It
big
closes,
room,
yeah.
and, there's so many of them already. Is that gonna be a value add thing?
Absolutely. That's going to be one of the biggest draws with it. I think
Okay.
that's one of the biggest draws.
It is flex.
Yes, yes.
It's a big open flexible.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that is
Youth engagement
how-
and education. What's that all about? Youth engagement is a core strategy. Oh, that's what you're talking about, or I guess, is that?
Well, and the school is always looking for an extra place to host little items and you're dealing with a really nice handicap accessible area. You're looking at this as ideas, education. This is mainly to bring businesses, helping them be successful, bringing in people from outside. We have some place to take them and show them, use an area where you can promote the local businesses, promote the nonprofits. This is what is here, this is what is here, and use those maps outside to help guide them too. So it's really open to about any possibility. But when I visit different towns, everybody has a really nice hub for economic development to say, hey, this is what we have. This is all our businesses. Main Street will be in that building. That's what we want them to be. They meet so many people all the time. They meet county, state officials, federal officials, Main Street USA. Why don't we give them the taste of what is the best here? I mean, we can have that opening at any time. Here, you can't come in here. This is a
Town.
this isn't town. This is an official area. The library's only open a certain time. This is really to highlight the areas of the town, the businesses, fill the rentals, fill the people that want to work here, bring their small business in here. And that's what I'm kind of going after, if that
Now
helps.
after Imagine you want professionals, you want our town to grow, present it in a professional way. Like your room, the 30 plus, that could be where you have your technology projecting. There's nowhere to project things that you develop and you want to do your visual presentations.
Mhm.
It can make a huge difference in things that could be a possibility by how you present it, being able to see it, and with technology and a place to display it,
Right.
that could be
Right.
all part of the plan. And like you say, things are not as expensive technology wise as they were.
Mhm.
So when this, you know, becomes planning, part of that would be how do we utilize our technology to promote, you know, selling our community and having the technology to present it.
Mhm.
So, you know, there's all kinds of things that. we
Well,
could do.
you know, in here, there's not a monitor here.
Mm-mm.
I mean, it would be nice to see a big board. When you go have a meeting, it's nice when you can see a big picture or you're drawing on a whiteboard. Here's your ideas. I want to have that. So have those availabilities so that you can
Yeah.
really have everything.
So
So,
Nick could present his presentation.
Yes. So
Yes.
Nick, yes.
yes.
You could actually have your own pointer.
We'll give you a red pointer.
Yes.
One of the teachers has got us.
But it's more so for economic development too. I mean, we want to present it, but we have a historical building. It's a beautiful building. And then you have it, that representation when you walk in, and then when you come in, you can highlight everything we have.
It's in the middle of downtown.
It is in the middle of the downtown. The parking is amazing.
This is a place to bring to life, you know?
Hmm.
That's
agree.
the opportunity.
That's well said. Yeah.
And let's say the title, the landing, I absolutely love that. I think that is such a
Good.
perfect label, the landing.
It goes back to now.
Here, I brought.
Yeah,
some
the
su-
canal days. That's what she said, the canal days.
I brought some suggestions.
Okay, that's great. That's perfect. Oh, you want me to read it now?
Yes.
Okay. Landing, gallery, entrances, homecoming, mezzanine, the door to. the
Yeah, because that would
key
be the door to
to-
whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, and art of going or coming in, exhibition. Yeah,
I like the landing, but I
Yeah.
like the gallery too.
Oh,
but-
okay.
oh, I see. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and we can look at that too next month too and talk about that. But I didn't realize that the landing with the canal. Yeah, that was neat.
the landing's what?
Now it's not too far.
That's right.
That's what they call it, the
It's
canal
connected.
is the landing? I did not know that.
No, it what?
No,
Oh.
when you I'll let you
Okay.
go with it, cause
It's
that's
like the city, like when the canal was operational. It, you know, we go from one area, like say from Manamore to Lawrenceburg. You know, you have landings along the canal. So
Okay.
a landing in Brookville is a landing historically. How this, you know, town was established, it was a landing for the beginning.
Mhm.
And so the canal is a historical connection to that, the landing. And like you're landing on this spot and we're landing here at this new building to create and to envision new things at this landing spot as a historical thing and as a modern vision. That's how I was looking at it. So,
Yeah.
and in our property, it is surrounded with the Whitewater Canal Association that and the trail is at the bottom of the property. So it is one, and together we're connecting those trails. So on the canal. So
oh,
but I'm excited that we can put together, it's gonna take a long time, but to do a little bit more for you guys so you can see it overall and help it come alive. But that's what I see, a living space, people coming in and out.
Yeah.
Weren't you glad you stayed on redevelopment?
Oh, I got one more question.
Oh, boy. I'll tell you what, it is fun though. It is really exciting to come up with these things, and the people that I've met probably in the last month through this whole process with the comprehensive plan, what made me do that, I've been sitting in a room for a year now with all these people, getting all their feedback. And that's why there's so many components, trying to bring in each one of their suggestions and their, what they've been talking about. So.
And that's, I think, a little bit why maybe some of us struggle. You've had such interactions with all this stuff, we.
Well,
really-
it's not just a comprehensive plan. I have a business and I am very involved with Girls on the Run, children's museums. Yeah, I sit on that board with the hospital. I go to the Ready meetings. Anybody can do that, but I like to see all of the components. What is the new way that people are now, there's not subdivisions like there used to be. That's something in the past. It's a collaborative thing, that mixed zoning. I listen to every lawyer thing when they talk about the new bills going through. It's just something that I always have been interested in, and that's why, and all the other things I do. And, I was just at a Cinco de Mayo thing in Sunman. So I love, and they did, and that's why I was there. And that's my Hispanic community that I love, that I came from up in Sunman. They really helped us out with the parks, and they work up there, and it's just a great group. So, it's a lot of different things that I've been doing, but down here, just listening to them, just sitting in the different restaurants. I love Nixie's. Isn't that fun, Todd? Now he sits there with his group. I mean,
Your picture in there.
yeah,
Oh,
I mean, it's just going to different things, and
Don't think that I wanted to
so, but
ask.
anyway, that's what it is.
Okay, when this is all finished and all said and done, who's gonna be manning this? Are we gonna have to hire a person to be there all the time?
Well, Main Street's gonna be in that building. So Main Street will be, when you first walk in, that's who's gonna be there. And then we
And-
will have to come up with somebody to really, work on how we are going to.
That's another thing.
Yeah, that's down the line.
Yeah.
But just to let you know, Main Street will be in there all the
Oh,
time.
okay.
And right now too, Christine is checking on the building every day. So she's doing a walkthrough upstairs and downstairs every day too, just to make sure there's another look. And the guys from the town, I was talking to them today, and they're checking on things too. So, we just hadn't done that before, and we forgot. But I think it's a group effort, and it feels like everybody's really coming together like I've never seen before.
I think not just, are you an interior designer? Did somebody say that, or am I dreaming?
She's an interior designer.
Yes.
Yes, I've never seen anything more beautiful.
I have a degree in interior design. I enjoy it. I like, so.
I was thinking, it's really gonna be fun on the inside, but then it's gonna be fun on the outside too, because I think that's what they see very, very first.
Mhm.
And, do you wanna go modern with it, or, that to me is what the exciting part is, the design.
So, I'll tell you what, if that is, any more discussion, is that okay if we just bring back the plans and go ahead? You got one more question? I know it's getting late, but I'll tell you what, we needed this. We needed to talk about it, so I'm glad we did it. Is there anything anybody really wants to talk about before we do the invoices?
What are we doing?
The invoices. So the invoices we have here are, one thing I want to talk about is Chase Painting, 4,600. I did a walkthrough. Everything's fine. They did not sweep the second floor, and they should not, but that is not okay. But they swept the basement. Everything looks great out of the garage. It's the best looking garage now. But so everything's good, and he did again text me today to say that he double checked today and it was done. So that's one of the invoices. The other one is the fire department for $53,389.21. Whitewater Publications, $8.25. Bond Distal, $6,248.92. He has here around $8,000 in receipts. It's over 8,000. And then he emailed or texted me a receipt as well. So, and it was around 12,000. So it's way over the 50% mark, but how do we want to do that? How do you know, do we need to make sure that you see that last receipt before we do that, or?
I don't think as long as they have receipts that are more than
Yes,
double this 6,200 that we approved, that's 50% of their
yes,
budget.
yes. And it's way over that amount that I have. So, okay, one day to say that. So do I have any questions on those invoicing? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
I'll second that.
Todd made a motion to approve. Becky seconded to pay the invoices that I just described. All those in favor say aye. All opposed? Okay. Invoices to be paid. The next thing is next meeting, March 23rd, 2026. And anything else? Would we like to adjourn?
I make the motion to adjourn.
Motion made and seconded, meeting adjourned. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yes, sir.